right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is another edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani here at 412-575-2600. Andrew Fillipponi's up at the Fan PM team. And Alexander Canario, could he be an answer? He was with the Mets. Therefore, I think you have a scouting report on the guy who did happen to hit a grand slam against the Pirates back in 2023, part of a 5 RBI game when he was with the Cubs. He's 24, but he was only acquired for cash. The Pirates need offense as much as they can get because they get none right now. Andrew, tell me about the guy.
Well, he was only with the Mets for, I can't even say coffee. It was a shot of espresso, basically, because of the whole Rule 5 draft system. They had to keep him or dump him. And, you know, the Mets, pitching is more their problem, not so much offense. So they ended up DFAing the guy, and the Pirates took advantage. Instead of allowing for him to go to any number of teams that were ahead of them in the waiver process priority list, they made a cash offer and picked him up. And look, power's in short supply. It's not like there's a lot of big-time bodies in that outfield. He's a right-handed hitter. For my money, I'd rather see him out there than Tommy Pham. And they gave Tommy Pham $4 million, but if I'm going to choose a right-handed bat to watch in that outfield right now on a team like this, it would be him with upside, and not a guy that's 37 years old and played for 3 teams last year. So this is the kind of thing teams should do in the Pirates situation. Buy low. You never know. I mean, they hit gold with Joey Bart last year. So from that perspective, I'm in favor of a move like this. But usually there's a reason why the guy's on his 3rd organization in a short amount of time, and that's because there's something about his minor league power, Bob, that doesn't necessarily translate to the big leagues.
Well, that sounds like a lot of the Pirate problems as well. There's supposedly some hitting down there in the minors, but when it gets up here, and Henry Davis would lead that list, he has to certainly change that. We'll see where he ends up. But at this point, I'm ready to bring him up or anyone else. I watched this game tonight, and man, again, the number of just weakly hit balls, 3 up, 3 down, 4 hits total. They fail with runners in scoring position. I get to the point where I'm saying this is the first series of the year, and there are off days. You know, that goes to showing me that they have a lot of platoon players at a lot of different positions. There's guys coming in and out.
Derek Shelton said he wanted to keep O'Neal Cruz off the turf, is what he said. Too many days on turf. As if they're playing at old Three River Stadium, Bob, and they're playing on AstroTurf from the 1980s. You know, sometimes I think what happens is there's paralysis by analysis. You got too many people that are crunching too many numbers, and they say things like, oh no, if this guy plays 4 days in a row on this surface, he's going to blow his knees out or he's going to have tendonitis in a year. Who cares? Okay, if I were running this regime, and I'm clearly not, I'm talking to you right now, but if I were, I would be nervous that my job is on the line, and I would want to win as many games as I can right now because I wouldn't be sure that I would still be occupying that job by the time we got to Labor Day at the end of the summer. So I would not worry so much about a year or 2 years from now. I'd be trying to win stat, as in right this very second, and running a bullpen guy out there today and then doing a bullpen game tomorrow. And by the way, Bob, that's not good for your bullpen because that's overtaxing those arms. And I don't know if you've seen it or watched, but this bullpen really needs more relief than it does more work right now. I don't want to see as many of these guys as we've seen over the first 5 games. That's partly why they're 1-4 right now.
And when you put 3 2/3 by your starter tonight, you go into the bullpen again. They were heavily taxed in those first 4 games because nobody went beyond 5. 6 was the max by Keller, I believe. And, you know, bottom line is they got to stretch those guys out too. And you can't keep going to one. The other thing I don't like, and now I want to get off tangent here, but this whole idea in that Marlins series, you have one pitcher for 1 inning, the next inning it's another guy, then it's another guy. If somebody's going okay, just leave them in for a couple of innings. There's no rule that says you can't do that, and I think that also contributes to too many arms being used on too many days. We got to take a break, Andrew. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about something that could help the Pirates maybe. It's called a torpedo bat. The Yankees have used it much to their advantage, at least to start this season. We'll talk about the Yankees coming to town. Also, big day down in Florida because Mike Tomlin met with the media, and they talked to Aaron Rodgers. We'll tell you what that's all about and more right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Tweet of the night brought to you by Xfinity Mobile. This is StatMuse, they do a great job with this kind of stuff. This is what the Yankees did over the weekend in a 3-game series. 15 home runs, 9 on Saturday alone. They traveled about a mile when you add them all together. Last couple of days, 5,176 feet. That goes to show you how good the Yankees are. They're coming to town. They'll take advantage of the Pirates, you would think, in their pitching situation. But they also have what's called a torpedo bat, something that obviously they were working with dating back to last year. They had an MIT physicist who doubled as a coach. He's now with the Marlins. And he came up with something that would help the sweet spot of the barrel of the bat with select hitters. Not everyone's using them, Andrew. Some are. Aaron Judge won't, and why mess with success there? But what's your take on this? Because when I first saw it, I thought, oh, maybe they're doing something that goes beyond the rules, and apparently they're not.
Well, it's a placebo effect, I think. These guys told this MIT whiz about where they thought the sweet spot was on the bat and where they wanted to make contact. And the area they kept pointing to was not the biggest or widest part of the bat, so we decided to change that. And I don't think that it actually, at the end of the day, when we get the data back on it, I don't think it's going to be something that says, well, that area, by making it bigger or wider, therefore has turned these guys into better hitters. But I think it's a mental thing. I think they go up there, at least right now, thinking, man, my bat's so much bigger in my hands, and they get more confidence from it, or whatever it is. I think there's a mental positive effect that's come with it so far. And I don't think it'll be a long-term thing, because these guys will go into slump, and then they'll be like, why am I holding this bowling pin in my hands? But no, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think that they've bent any rules. I don't think that they've circumvented anything. It's also not the Yankees' intellectual property. I mean, there's teams right now, the Orioles have had shipments sent to them, some of their hitters. Some Rays hitters apparently are going to get some too, from what I heard on the pregame show today. Who knows if we'll see Pirates. Pirates hitters need those big, fat wiffle ball bats that I used to play with when I was a kid. That's what they need. They need something like that to get them out of the doldrums of the early season blues that they find themselves in.
And for those who think that the Yankees do have an advantage here, they're still pretty good hitters. I mean, you got to have good hitters. You got to make contact before anything else. One other thing before we go to the phone lines here tonight, and that would be what happened down in the Breakers down in Florida, where they're having the NFL owners meetings. Mike Tomlin met with a bunch of media people today. And the biggest takeaway I had was this quote where he says, "I'm comfortable being unsettled this time of the year." That sounds to me like someone who's still looking for a quarterback. This is back-to-back years where they have completely changed the entire quarterback room. That's not an ideal situation. And a lot of teams that lose their franchise quarterback have a hard time finding one, and they are right now. But he says there's no timetable for Aaron Rodgers. What does that mean exactly?
Well, I think Mike is the ultimate player's coach, and I think he's trying to be respectful of the timeline of a former, emphasis on former great player. I think he knows he's going to get him, and that's why I think they're allowing for this to go on. Just his tone today in that interview, in that Q&A, the way he giggled and laughed about some questions with Aaron Rodgers. I like to consider myself a body language Mike Tomlin expert because I've heard him talk for 15 years. And he just sounds way too. I think he's working under the assumption, Bob, that he knows more than us. And I think what he knows, or what he thinks, is that he's basically got a handshake deal with Aaron Rodgers. And if he doesn't, he feels like the things that they've done with Aaron Rodgers or for Aaron Rodgers allows for there to be a very strong chance of it happening. And then you've got the Aaron Rodgers workout with DK Metcalf on top of that, Bob, which is another piece of evidence maybe that Aaron Rodgers is serious about coming here, especially when all the Twitter film geeks, and here it is right here on the TV side, oh, it's a play action, and what do you know, it's a throw over the middle. My God, isn't that a thing of beauty? Was he already doing some things that Arthur Smith wants him to do? That would be interesting, but yeah, I don't know, Bob, if I had to, who knows with Aaron Rodgers, but if I had to guess right now, I do think ultimately at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers ends up signing with the Steelers. I
would agree with that, but I would still think that Minnesota, and listening to what Kevin McConnell said today, leaves open a possibility they still may decide to continue to talk to him at some point. And I wouldn't trust anything that Aaron Rodgers is doing, so I'm not going to make any kind of conclusion, but I think there has to be a timeline here, and it has to be before the draft. That's the way I would look at it, unless they know absolutely sure that he's coming.
Why is that, though?
Why is that, though? I think it would impact what they do, and I don't know that I would do that, but I have a feeling it would impact what they do. If they don't have a second-round pick and they don't come up with one, they're going to have 1-2 picks in the first 2 days. That's it. for a team that needs a lot of stuff, you know. So,
well,
and I don't want them
I'm
to
happy
rush
that
to
you
a
brought
judgment
that
on
up.
a quarterback, because if you do that, you can make a mistake.
I think there's some mixed messaging on George Pickens. Obviously, they're not going to say negative things about him because of you just don't hear that. That won't happen. But there's a little bit of, hey, it's a good problem to have both of these guys together. But then you hear Omar Khan talk about how he wants a second-round pick. And Mike Tomlin went on and gushed about Roman Wilson today. And I see the only way Roman Wilson would get substantial playing time this year is if George Pickens isn't on the roster, because Calvin Austin would be the Steelers slot guy. So, I mean, how do you get a second-round pick, Bob? Name somebody else they could trade besides George Pickens. I'll hang up and listen, because I can't think of another one.
No, I don't know. I think it's a tough
Alex
situation.
Highsmith?
I don't know if they're going to do that unless someone's willing to.
I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they will either. Anyway, let's go to the calls, because we have our number one Cochran Go and Better caller of the night. That would be Jim in Peters Township, who's first up tonight. Hello, Jim. How are you?
How you doing, guys? Hey, I want to say this about this torpedo bat. It's a bunch of BS, because I can remember not too long ago, Major League Baseball, they suspended someone for having a cork bat. Now you can have a bat that you add more wood into it. I mean, they just want more runs. And I'll say this about the Yankees. That's a bandbox. Now, they scored 15 runs. They got Soto, yeah, sure. But when they get outside of Yankee Stadium, they don't get all those cheap home runs.
Yeah,
Well, they don't have Soto, first of all. Soto plays
with
for the
the
Mets,
Mets,
and
yes.
the Royals put 10 runs on the Brewers pitching today. Okay, so I don't know what they've got, torpedoes or
Sounds
wiffle
like the
ball
Brewers have a
bats or
torpedo
aluminum
pitching
bats.
staff is what it sounds like. They can't
Exactly.
pitch.
It sounds like they're throwing batting practice right now. And they're not putting more wood in it. The bat, look, if they are, it's within the weight guidelines of
Right.
Major League Baseball.
It's all about weight.
You know, Babe Ruth swung a heavy bat. Alfonso Soriano is actually one of the skinnier guys, swung a very heavy bat. You're allowed to have heavier bats. They just need to be within the ramification. A lot of these guys don't want heavy bats. Tony Gwynn swung one of the lightest bats. He basically swung a bat that a 9-year-old would swing in a Little League game because he wanted the bat speed. So a lot of guys don't want weight in their bat because they think it slows them down, slows their swing. And a lot of it, Bob, is about launch angle too,
Right.
and about swing velocity, not how much the bat weighs.
All right, let's get out to Mike in Newcastle. Mike joins us right now on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Go ahead, Mike.
How you doing, gentlemen? Yeah, this is a bad start to the season so far. But I want to know, why was Ryan Brookie out there for mop-up duty? He's a more important bullpen to me, guy, at this moment. I'm demoting Bednar to mop-up duty because he's had a bad season last year, bad spring training. Anytime he's gone in the game so far, he's not gone out. He's demoted, in my opinion, to that until he figures it out.
Right, there are ways to do it without doing much other than moving him around and using him in lesser leverage situations. Borecki's been good for them, so I don't, for him coming out there tonight, I didn't agree with that either. But they got to do something with Bednar. He has to get back on track, and however they choose to do it, he can't be sent out there, I don't think, in the next couple of days if they have closer situations and a save situation on their hands. I would not go with him right now. I think he has to figure it out, whatever it is.
Well, when they're basically asking their 7-man or 8-man bullpen to pitch the entire game tomorrow, Bob, they're not going to have a choice. He's going to have to fit in somewhere, especially if they have a small lead. So he probably is going to pitch a leverage situation. I mean, I'm guessing it's going to still be late innings because you're not going to move Colin Holderman above him in the pitching pecking order. I guess Santana would be an option. He pitched earlier in games. This Lawrence guy that they picked up from the Rockies actually so far seems like a shrewd move. But I can't imagine him going all the way to the front of the line on this. It's just not a good situation, okay? This team is in, I won't say dire straits because it's only 5 games, but they're not passing anybody's eye test right now. And the problem with that is their first 4 games were against the Marlins, Bob. The Marlins aren't even trying to win. You think the Pirates and their fans should be mad? That's a $41 million payroll in Miami with 8 hitters that no one's ever heard of.
Yeah.
And
no
they
one,
won
when
3
they
or
came
4.
up, you're nameless gray faces. That's what they are. And the Pirates' problems, we can talk about pitching all we want. Starting pitching's been okay, minus tonight, but the problem is they can't score runs. They've had all sorts of opportunities with runners in scoring position after stolen bases, and they simply cannot come up with big hits. And when you don't do that, when you go 9 for 43 with runners in scoring position, not good things happen. And that's got to change. But the question is, who in their system can come up and help them? You know, if you're going to count
they
on
also
this
don't
Rule
hit
5
home
guy.
runs.
What's that?
Yeah, they don't hit home runs. They don't have instant offense.
That's why
they don't
this
have
guy,
guys with one swing that change games.
Yeah, if he comes over from the Mets and he's capable, I'd throw him right out there. Why not? You know, but they're too loyal to. They'll be loyal to Pham because he was here, signed the deals. 37, he's a veteran. You know how the veterans go; they get their way. But I'm sorry, if you don't deliver, you need to move on. We got to take a break. Speaking of moving on, we'll come back with more right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. So what's coming up tonight on KDKA News at 11 o'clock? Here's Ken Rice with that answer.
Hey, Bob, tonight state lawmakers are considering changes to non-monetary bail. We'll explain. Plus, a new audit finds the UPMC insurance program cost taxpayers thousands. And Ray Petlin's tracking some sunshine before rain returns. All coming up right here at 11, Bob.
All right, Ken, thanks very much. You see our poll question tonight. Who's going to win the national championship of college basketball? All good teams, all number one seeded teams. First time since 2008, I think that's happened. Andrew, which is kind of a sign of the times. They're all good teams. They've played well, avoided a couple of potential upsets there. But who do you like? I still think Duke is the best team of these four.
I totally agree with you on that. Cooper Flagg is going to go to the NBA draft. I know some people are talking about the NIL money. Everything I've heard is that he is a lock to go to the league, and he is tremendous. He could have actually been a high school senior this year, but he reclassified, was 17 years old when the season started, and if you haven't seen the guy play, you're truly missing out. He's one of the great college basketball players of the last 50 years.
Yeah, he really is. Real quick, Andrew and Carrick, make it quick, please. You have about 40 seconds, so I want to get you on to make your point.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Quick, Andrew.
Hey, Bob. How you doing, Bob?
Okay, we're running out of time. I'm sorry, we have no time. I tried to be nice there. That wasn't going to work. So, Andrew, thanks very much for your time. We'll do it again tomorrow night.
Man, you're so rude, Bob, hanging up on that guy. I'll see you later.
We have boundaries here. I got to stick to them.
Extremely rude. Owe him an apology.
Okay, thank
Maybe
you
we'll
very
take him
much.
tomorrow.
I'm sorry, Andrew. Not you, the other Andrew. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll do it again tomorrow night at 10:35. Once again, join us. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call here on KDK Plus and most nights 93.7 The Fan. Good night.